Introducing our team members for the EBCP team assignment, Task 6, Scenario 1. My name is Abida Sana Abdullah. Then we have Chidinma Ikong, Jessica Alza Fontalvo, and Aisha Tayeb. Our group is doing Scenario 1, which is Miki Suzuki, a 39-year-old office administrator in Toronto, presents to a walk-in clinic with complaints of fatigue and weight gain over the past year. She has no history of smoking but previously vaped and currently uses heated tobacco about 10 times daily. Her lifestyle incorporates long work hours with little time for leisure. She has no family history of diabetes or cardiovascular disease, but had an uncle who died of leukemia. She wants to lose weight and improve her energy levels. A physical exam reveals elevated blood pressure of 140 over 90 millimeter of mercury, BMI of 30 kilogram m squared, classified as obese, and central adiposity waist circumference of 38 inches. Her lab results indicate slightly elevated fasting blood glucose of 105 milligram per deciliter, high triglycerides of 200 milligram per deciliter, and low HDL cholesterol of 45 milligram per deciliter, suggesting potential metabolic concerns. Further evaluation on lifestyle modifications, including dietary changes, physical activity, and possibly medical intervention, will be discussed at her follow up appointment.
Now we're going to be looking at the description of the article. A recent cohort study published in Tobacco-Induced Disease examined the impact of heated tobacco products on the development of metabolic syndrome. The study analyzed data from 183,870 South Korean adults who underwent health checkups in 2019 and 2020. The findings did reveal that current HTP users had a 68% higher risk of developing metabolic syndrome compared to non-users. Notably, among HTP users who did not smoke conventional cigarettes, those with a smoking duration of 3 years or more had more than double of the risk. Additionally, using HTP more than 16 times a day was associated with a 33% increased risk. These results suggest that HTP use may significantly elevate the risk of metabolic syndrome, potentially exceeding the risk associated with conventional cigarette smoking.
Critical appraisal. The effect of heated tobacco products on metabolic syndrome, a cohort study. Section A. Are the results of the study valid? Question number 1. Did the study address a clearly focused issue? Yes. The study clearly emphasized its purpose to further investigate the relationship between using conventional cigarettes, electronic vaping cigarettes, or heated tobacco products, and its relationship with developing metabolic syndrome. Question 2. Was the cohort recruited in an acceptable way? Yes. Participants were provided with a smoking status questionnaire, which allowed them to select which tobacco products they use and how often. This cohort study included 183,870 adults who visited the Korea Medical Institute for a checkup in 2019 and then elected to return for the study follow-up in 2020. The large sample size minimized advised selection as it allowed for a variety of Korean populations and lifestyles to participate, as they met the criteria of being a smoker and not having any symptoms of metabolic syndrome. Part B. Is it worth continuing? Yes. Continuing the study with other populations besides the initial Korean population would be beneficial. Understanding the risk and development of metabolic syndrome can help prevent and derail long-term smokers for healthier alternatives. In addition, studying other races and ethnicities will provide more extensive and diverse data that can help enhance the understanding of developing metabolic syndrome through the new obtained cultural and social input. Here we can see the baseline characteristic of participants. This highlights some of the questions found in the smoking questionnaire. For example, it identifies how often they smoke, how they smoke, if they drink, if they exercise, and so on. Please pause for more details. Question 3. Was the exposure accurately measured to minimize bias? The data given was subjective. As willing participants completing a smoking status questionnaire, the questionnaire asked the individuals to select whichever box they most assimilated to. For example, conventional versus vaping cigarettes. All participants were free to fill it out, minimizing the need for participants to lie about their smoking habits. However, social input and bias could be an underlying factor for falsified responses, assuming they want to underestimate how much they smoke and drink while overestimating their exercise status. Objectively, the risk for metabolic syndrome was measured through blood work, body measurements, thus providing raw data on the individual's health status. Question 4. Was the outcome accurately measured to minimize bias? The outcome was accurately measured to minimize bias by using raw data collected at its first checkup and then comparing their blood work body measurements a year later at the follow-up. This is a reliable system as the participants cannot manipulate their blood work and body measurements in comparison to stating their smoking status. During the study, all participants were tobacco users, but their intake method was different using conventional cigarettes, electronic cigarettes, or heated tobacco products. Ultimately, the desired outcome was reached as the study measured the risk of developing metabolic syndrome among tobacco users. Question 5. Have the authors identified all important confounding factors? The authors of the study included age, sex, smoking status, smoking device use, alcohol intake, and exercise status. Race and ethnicity were not mentioned, but since South Korea is an ethnic homogeneity country, the study's outcome can change when translated to other populations. Similarly, Koreans have a diet high in vegetables and lean proteins, compared to Latinos, for example, who prefer red meat and carbohydrates. These factors would also contribute to the development of metabolic syndrome. Have they taken account of the confounding factors in the design and/or analysis? The study design considered these factors by utilizing the Cox proportional hazards model. This model allows the study to analyze the relationship between an event and its outcome. Thus, the effects of smoking via conventional cigarettes, electronic cigarettes, or heated tobacco products, and the risk of developing metabolic syndrome. The picture on the right is a visual representation of the event and the risk outcome. Question 6, Part A. Was a follow-up of the subjects complete enough? The follow-up included a comparison between the 2019 and 2020 checkups. They could now compare the baseline characteristics and determine any change from the data to imply a development of metabolic syndrome. Part B. Was the follow-up of the subjects long enough? The study gave a quick view of the effects of smoking on developing metabolic syndrome but failed to capture chronic effects. The short-term study of 1 year does not provide insights into the long-term effect or how the body composition of different ethnicities may differ.
7. What are the study results? HCP users had a 68% increased risk, HR being 1.68, which is 95%, and CI being 1.25 to 2.26 of developing metabolic syndrome. Among non-cigarette smokers, the risk was 2.17 times higher, HR being 2.17, which is 95%, and CI being 1.31 to 3.62. Frequent and prolonged use of about 16 times a day further increased risk by 33%, HR being 1.33 and CI being 1.18 to 1.49. 8. How precise are the results? Very precise. Confidence intervals were reported and statistically significant. For example, the hazard ratio for current HCP users compared to non-users is 1.68, with a 95% confidence interval of 1.25 to 2.26. 9. Do you believe the results? Yes. The study included 183,870 participants, which enhances statistical power and reduces random error. The researcher used Cox proportional hazard model to adjust for confounding factors such as age, sex, smoking status, alcohol consumption, and physical activity. 10. Can the results be applied to the local population? Unsure. While the biological mechanisms linking and HTP use and metabolic syndrome are likely universal, South Korea's population may differ from other settings based on lifestyle, dietary habits, and genetic predisposition, which were not accounted for in the study. Therefore, it is unclear how well the results can be applied to a local population. 11. Do the results of this study fit with other available evidence? Yes. Prior research links smoking and e-cigarette use to metabolic syndrome, supporting these findings. 12. What are the implications of this study for practice? Regulate HTPs similarly to cigarettes, educate the public on the risks of HTP use, and encourage cessation programs for HTP users.
So now we're going to be looking at if the results can be applied to the local population. The applicability of the study results to a local population depends on several factors, demographics and lifestyle being the first. The study was conducted in South Korea, so the population sample may have a unique lifestyle, dietary, and genetic, as well as environmental risk factors that differ from your local population. If your population has a similar smoking habits, metabolic risk factors, and healthcare access, the findings may be more applicable. The second being tobacco use patterns. If heated tobacco products consumption in your area is comparable in frequency, duration, and co-use with conventional cigarettes, the risk estimates may be relevant. However, if HTP use significantly differs, the results may not directly translate. The third being healthcare and screening. Differences in healthcare access, metabolic syndrome screening, and intervention programs can influence real-world impacts on HTP on metabolic health. If preventative measures are stronger in your local context, the risk may be mitigated. The fourth and last being ethics and genetic differences. Some populations may have higher or lower predispositions to metabolic syndrome due to genetic factors, which could influence the extent to which HTP contributes to the condition.
Based on the article, what do I tell the patient in this clinical scenario? Mickey, I understand that you're concerned about fatigue and weight gain. Your lab results and physical exam suggest early signs of metabolic syndrome, which increases the risk of diabetes and heart disease. One factor that might be contributing is your use of heated tobacco products. A recent cohort study of 183,870 adults found that heated tobacco products users had a 68% higher risk of developing metabolic syndrome compared to non-users, according to Kim et al. 2024. This means that even though heated tobacco products are marketed as a safer alternative to cigarettes, they can still have serious effects on metabolism. Heated tobacco products can affect your blood sugar regulation and cholesterol levels, which may explain some of your current symptoms such as weight gain and fatigue. The study also found that people who used heated tobacco products for more than 3 years had more than double the risk of metabolic syndrome compared to non-users. Since you've been using them regularly, this could be an issue to consider. Frequent use, for example, more than 16 times daily, was linked to a 33% higher risk, meaning that even at your current use of 10 times a day, there is still potential for harm. And 2, steps to improve metabolic health. Since your goal is to lose weight and improve energy levels, we can take steps to reduce risk factors. Reducing or quitting heated tobacco products use can help lower the metabolic risks and improve energy. There are smoking cessation programs and support strategies available. Lifestyle modifications such as increasing physical activity and making small dietary changes can help regulate blood sugar and lipid levels. Also, regular follow-ups will allow us to monitor your blood pressure, weight, and lab results to see if any adjustments are needed. Thank you, and I hope you liked our presentation.